golden glow of the Dragon Palace restaurant was supposed to feel like coming home. For 20 years, we'd celebrated every birthday, every promotion, and every crisis over their famous Peking duck. But that Friday night, the moment I pushed through those red lacquered doors, the air wasn't filled with the scent of Five Spice and family. It was thick with conspiracy. I saw them all. My aunts whispering behind jeweled hands. My uncles, suddenly fascinated by the intricate patterns of the tablecloth. My mother, standing at the head of the table in her important announcement navy suit, pearls gleaming like armor. And my sister, Chloe. She sat directly in my line of sight, a slow, venomous smile spreading across her face as she spun a single object between her manicured fingers, a key fob. The Porsche crest caught the light with every rotation, winking at me. My mother's voice was a silken trap. "Alara, finally. We've been waiting." I didn't sit. My heart was a hammer against my ribs. "Where?" I said, my voice dangerously quiet. "Is my money?" That's when my mother laughed. A light, tinkling sound that had dismissed a lifetime of my dreams. "Sweetheart, it's just money. Family shares everything. But $127,000 isn't just money." It was 8 years of my life. It was 5 a.m. trains and cold coffee. It was the wedding venue David and I were supposed to book on Monday. It was the nursery of a future child I'd already painted yellow in my mind. And as I stood there, watching my family watch me crumble, I made a decision. They thought I was their compliant, predictable cash cow. They had no idea that 3 years ago, my dying grandfather had handed me a nuclear launch code. And tonight I was finally going to push the button. The boardroom on the 40th floor was a glacier, all cold glass, steel, and silent judgment. My family shuffled in, not as my relatives, but as defendants. My father, Robert, couldn't meet my eyes. My mother, Diana, wore a mask of wounded pride, and Chloe looked like she'd just swallowed poison. William Thompson, my grandfather's lawyer, stood like a stoic sentinel. "We are here to discuss the Vance family revocable trust," he began, his voice echoing in the tense silence. He laid out the documents one by one. The commercial real estate portfolio they'd partied in, the investment accounts they'd treated as a personal slush fund, the house they called their own. "All assets," Thompson stated, "are held in a discretionary trust. The sole trustee is Alara Vance." My mother's composure shattered. "That's our home," she shrieked. Thompson didn't blink. "Technically, Mrs. Vance, you are a tenant at will. Miss Vance can initiate eviction proceedings if she chooses." Then came the freeze. With a few keystrokes on my laptop, I turned their privileged lives to stone. I watched in real time as my mother pulled out her phone, her face draining of all color as she saw the words, "Access denied" on her banking app. My father's credit card was declined when he tried to buy a coffee right there in the room. The shock was a physical force. This wasn't a tantrum. This was a systemic takeover. I had become the architect of their new, stark reality. And the blueprint had been drawn in my grandfather's steady hand 3 years ago from his deathbed. Chloe lived her life through a filter, so it felt only fitting to fight her on that battlefield. While she was busy posting tearful videos about her unhinged sister, I was in my home office, assembling the truth. I didn't create a dramatic video. I created a thread, an anonymous account, just facts and receipts. I started with a photo of my final bank statement, the $127,000 clearly visible, followed by the gut-punch screenshot of a zero balance. Then, the dealer's invoice for the Porsche Cayenne, purchased that same day. The next slide was a collage, my worn-out winter coat next to Chloe's new designer jacket every season. My sad desk lunch next to her brunch photos. The final nail was a series of text messages. My mother, "Harper, your father's car needs a new transmission. It's an emergency." Followed by, "Chloe needs a new laptop for her online course." The same course she dropped out of 2 weeks later. I posted it and went to bed. The internet did the rest. By morning, it had gone viral. The comments were a bloodbath. She stole from a forensic accountant? The audacity to then post the car. Her follower count plummeted. Brands she'd partnered with publicly dropped her. The narrative she'd so carefully crafted, the stylish, beloved influencer, evaporated overnight. The most shocking part? My phone started buzzing with messages from numbers I didn't know. "Cousins, old family friends. I always knew they were taking advantage of you," they said. "I'm so glad you're finally fighting back." The court of public opinion had reached a verdict, and it was unanimous. Guilty. "This is Chloe. My sister has frozen all my accounts. She's trying to destroy me." I recorded the video through heaving sobs. My perfect eyeliner now rivers of black down my cheeks. The comments were not sympathetic. "Give the money back, thief." I deleted it. The repossession men came at 7 a.m. I stood on the driveway in my silk pajamas, the morning dew soaking my feet, as they hooked my beautiful white Porsche to their truck. I filmed it, my hand shaking. "Look what she's doing to me!" I screamed at the camera. A neighbor pulled their curtain shut. The shame was a hot flush that consumed my whole body. The silence afterwards was the loudest thing I'd ever heard. No more notifications, no more DMs from fans, no more clicking of my heels on marble floors, just the hum of my refrigerator and the crushing weight of my own emptiness. I stared at my reflection in the black screen of my phone. Who was I without the things? Without the content? I was just a 26-year-old woman who had stolen her sister's future and had nothing to show for it. The most shocking realization wasn't that Alara had taken everything from me. It was that I had nothing of my own to begin with. The person I saw in that reflection was a ghost. The letter arrived on crisp, expensive stationery. It was from my Aunt Carol, my mother's sister. "Alara," it began, "your cruelty has broken this family. To wield your grandfather's wealth as a cudgel against your own flesh and blood is a sin. We want nothing more to do with you. Do not contact us again." It wasn't just her. It was a cascade. The family group chat, once a constant stream of demands and gossip, went dead the moment I entered it. My cousin's wedding invitation never came. I saw the photos online weeks later. A sea of familiar smiling faces I was no longer a part of. I had won. I had my money, my peace, and my power. So why did my apartment feel so cavernously empty? I sat in the silence, holding my grandfather's letter. "They'll call you cold, heartless, and cruel. Let them." He was right, but he never told me how much it would ache. The most shocking loss wasn't financial. It was the death of the fantasy, the hope that underneath the taking, they still loved me. By setting myself free, I had excommunicated myself. The price of my freedom was my family, and some days, the weight of that transaction felt heavier than any sack of gold. David's face was pale as he stared at me across our kitchen table. "So you control everything?" he asked, his voice hushed. I nodded, my heart thumping. I expected relief. I expected, wow, we can get the house back. Instead, he said, "Your mom called my mom. She's telling her you've had a psychotic break, that you're holding the family hostage." My blood ran cold. "And what does your mom think?" I whispered. He looked down. "She's worried. She said this is a side of you she's never seen, that it's intense." The wedding venue coordinator called the next day. "We need the deposit or we lose the date," she chirped. I explained the situation, my voice tight. David was silent. Later, I overheard him on the phone in the other room. "I know, Mom, but you don't understand what they did to her." "No, it's not just about the money." He was defending me to his own family. The shock wasn't my family betrayal. It was the terrifying crack it created in my future. The person who was supposed to be my rock was now looking at me like I was a stranger holding a lit match. I had to win my future back from my family, only to risk losing it all over again with the man I loved. The smell in my grandfather's study was of old leather and dying flowers. He was frail, drowning in his favorite armchair, but his eyes were sharp, burning with a feverish intensity. "They're vultures, Alara," he rasped, gripping my hand. "Pretty polite vultures." He opened a ledger. "See this? 40,000. Your mother's emergency kitchen renovation, approved while I was in chemotherapy." He turned a page. 60,000. Your father's investment in his friend's failing brewery. Never asked, just took it." Each entry was a bullet, a story of trust betrayed. I felt sick. Then he pointed a trembling finger at me. "But you paid back your college loan? Every cent, with interest I never asked for." He called for Mr. Thompson, who had been waiting in the hall. "It's time," Grandpa said. The documents were produced. The Vance Family Revocable Trust. "You'll be the trustee," he told me. I was horrified. "They'll hate me." His smile was sad and final. "Let them. Better they hate you while you're strong than love you while they drain you dry." He signed with a shaking hand. 2 days later, he was gone. The most shocking part of his death wasn't the loss, but the terrible, powerful weapon he had placed in my hands, and the chilling certainty that I would one day have to use it. I stood in the break room of a car dealership, holding a cheap coffee pot. My sister Chloe, in a company polo shirt 2 sizes too big, was nervously explaining financing options to an impatient customer. She saw me and flinched, expecting a sneer, a reminder of her fall from grace. I didn't give it to her. I just poured myself a coffee and gave her a small, neutral nod. Later, my father picked me up in his Honda Civic. He was driving for a rideshare service. "Made $80 in tips yesterday," he said. And there was a genuine pride in his voice I hadn't heard since he'd retired from a job he hated. People are interesting. The most shocking transformation was my mother's. She'd started a blog called The Budget Duchess, chronicling her journey from luxury to frugality. She'd learned to coupon. She'd sold her jewelry. She'd found a community of women who admired her not for her husband's money, but for her newfound resilience. We had a family dinner. It was a potluck. My mother brought a casserole. It was a little burnt, and it was the most honest meal we'd shared in a decade. They weren't just complying. They were for the first time living. And the silence between us was no longer filled with resentment, but with the quiet, steady work of building something real. You have to understand, I never said no, not once. When my mother asked for money, I gave it. When Chloe needed something, I provided. I was the good daughter, the reliable one, but there was a part of me that loved it. The power, the quiet superiority of being the one who solved everything. I'd casually mention my bonus at family dinner. I'd forget to take the tag off my new handbag. I created the dynamic I now claim to be a victim of. I made them dependent so I could feel indispensable. The joint account. I insisted on it. "It'll be easier for you, Mom, to help me manage things," I'd said. I was laying a trap, testing them, pushing them to see how far they would go. And when Chloe finally took the bait and bought the Porsche, a part of me was thrilled. The shock wasn't the theft. The shock was my own reaction. It was the grim satisfaction of being proven right. My grandfather didn't just give me the trust to protect me from them. He gave it to me to protect them from the controlling, manipulative person I was becoming. The villain of this story isn't just my entitled family. It's the reflection staring back at me, holding all the power. And finally, terrifyingly, getting everything I secretly always wanted. My boss, Ms. Sterling, called me into her corner office. The city sprawled beneath her floor-to-ceiling windows. I thought I was being fired over the family drama. Instead, she gestured to a chair. "Thompson Law just contacted our legal department," she said, her voice cool and assessing. "Fascinating reading." She slid a folder across her glass desk. It was a summary of the trust and the Porsche incident. "You managed a hostile takeover of a multi-million-dollar asset portfolio in 48 hours. You identified the weakness in their financial structure, the authorized user status, and executed a flawless freeze. You did all this while under intense emotional duress." She leaned forward. "We have a client, a tech CEO whose brother is embezzling from their shared company. It's messy, personal. We were going to send a team of 3. I'm sending just you." The shock wasn't the promotion or the raise. It was the realization that my family's betrayal had become my career's defining case study. The very trauma that broke me was now my professional strength. I had turned my personal hell into a benchmark for corporate forensic success. The line between victim and victor had blurred into nothingness. 1 year to the day after the confrontation, my mother called. Her voice wasn't demanding or manipulative. It was small, scared. "Ilara," she said, "it's your father. He's had a heart attack." I rushed to the hospital, my mind reeling. The medical bills would be astronomical. The old scripts played in my head. "It's an emergency. You have to help. Family helps family." I found them in the sterile white room. My father looked frail in the bed. My mother's carefully constructed composure was gone. She looked old. Chloe was there, holding his hand. They saw me and the air went out of the room. This was the moment. The test. My mother didn't ask for anything. She just started crying, and then Chloe spoke, her voice raw. "We have the insurance from Dad's old job. The copays will be high, but I've been saving. We'll manage. The most shocking thing wasn't the crisis. It was that they didn't ask me for a single penny. They had, against all odds, learned to stand on their own. And in that moment, for the first time in my life, I saw them not as a burden, but as my family. And I finally wanted to help.